The Last Stand. The crystalline spires of Nova Centauri pierced the violet sky like daggers, their surfaces reflecting the harsh light of 3 suns. In the Grand Chamber of Justice, Admiral Sarah Chen stood before the Dominion Council, her weathered uniform a stark contrast to the opulent chamber. The 12 members of the council, each representing a founding species of the Dominion, loomed above her on their elevated platforms, their bioluminescent features casting eerie shadows across the chamber. Admiral Chen of the former Earth Defense Force. First Speaker Cathal's voice resonated through the chamber, each word dripping with barely concealed contempt. You stand accused of violating the Treaty of Submission, harboring fugitives, and orchestrating armed resistance against Dominion authority. How do you respond? Chen's dark eyes, hardened by decades of conflict, swept across the assembly. The public galleries were packed with representatives from 100 worlds, some conquered like Earth, others among the Dominion's privileged elite. She noticed the subtle shifts among the subjugated species, the slight straightening of spines, the careful attention in their eyes. They were watching, waiting, hoping. I accept responsibility for my actions. Chen's voice carried clearly, unwavering. But I reject the authority of this council to judge them. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Cathal's bioluminescent patches flashed with anger, casting sharp blue shadows across his elongated features. You dare question the legitimacy of this council? The Dominion brought order to a chaotic galaxy. We elevated primitive species like yours from their planetary confines. You brought subjugation. Chen countered, her words measured but fierce. You demanded our submission in exchange for not destroying our worlds. That's not elevation, it's extortion. The second speaker, a massive entity composed of crystalline structures, chimed in with a resonating tone. The human colonies you protected were breeding grounds for dissent. The refugees you sheltered were criminals against the natural order. They were families. Chen's voice cracked slightly, but her stance remained rigid. Children and elders fleeing from your rehabilitation programs. When you turned our lunar bases into prison camps, when you stripped our people of basic rights, did you expect us to simply accept it? The chamber fell silent. In that moment, Chen activated the quantum transmitter embedded beneath her skin, a device so small it had evaded even the Dominion's invasive scans. Across thousands of worlds, her words were being broadcast on frequencies that the Resistance had spent years preparing. For 15 years, we've endured your rule, she continued, her voice growing stronger. We watched you tear apart our cultures, disperse our populations across your empire as laborers and servants. But you made a crucial mistake. Kill leaned forward, his luminescence pulsing with dangerous intensity. And what mistake would that be, Admiral? You thought breaking our governments meant breaking our spirit. You thought scattering us would weaken us. A slight smile touched Chen's lips. Instead, you spread us throughout your empire, positioned us in your shipyards, your factories, your communication hubs. Every human you forced into service became a potential agent of change. The council chambers erupted in chaos as security forces rushed forward. But Chen wasn't finished. Her words, carried by countless hidden transmitters, reached every corner of the Dominion. To every human listening, to every species who has suffered under Dominion rule, remember this day. Remember that they fear us enough to make examples of us. And remember that even now, standing before their judgment, we refuse to submit. The stun weapon struck her then, sending her to her knees. But Chen's smile never wavered. As consciousness faded, she whispered the code phrase that would trigger humanity's response. Aurora rising. In the darkness of space, on countless worlds and stations throughout the Dominion, sleeper cells awakened. In shipyards, sabotage protocols activated. In communication hubs, carefully planted viruses began their work. And in the shadows of the Outer Rim, a fleet that had spent 15 years preparing began to move. The Dominion Council sentenced Admiral Chen to death, making a public spectacle of her execution. They broadcast it across their empire as a warning to others who would resist. But as her body fell lifeless in the council chambers, the first explosions began to rock Nova Centauri's orbital defenses. The revolution she had died to trigger was only beginning. Echoes of defiance. In the maintenance tunnels beneath Nova Centauri's primary shipyards, Maya Torres watched the execution broadcast with clenched fists. Around her, 24 other workers, humans and members of other subjugated species, stood in silence. The holographic display flickered as Admiral Chen's final words echoed through the cramped space. "Aurora rising," Maya whispered, the code phrase sending chills down her spine. She turned to the others, her eyes gleaming in the dim light. "It's time." The workers moved with practiced precision, retrieving hidden caches of weapons and equipment from compartments they'd spent years preparing. Maya accessed a sealed terminal, her fingers flying across the holographic interface as she initiated the protocols Chen's resistance had embedded in the shipyard systems. Above them, in the massive construction base, the first signs of chaos emerged. Safety systems suddenly failed, emergency bulkheads slammed shut, and communication networks became scrambled. The Dominion's prized warships, scheduled to launch within days, found their systems locked down by carefully crafted viral programs. Team 2 moved to secure the auxiliary control center. Maya commanded, shouldering a pulse rifle that had been disguised as maintenance equipment. Team 3 began evacuating the civilian workers. "Remember, no unnecessary casualties. We're here to liberate, not seek revenge." Across the shipyard complex, similar scenes played out. Workers who had spent years appearing docile and broken revealed themselves as trained resistance fighters. The Dominion's overseers, so confident in their control, found themselves suddenly outmaneuvered by the very slaves they'd dismissed as inferior. In orbit, aboard the Dominion command carrier Eternal Dominance, First Officer Vextal noticed the first anomalies in the shipyard's output. The crystalline being's sensory filaments twitched with concern as reports began flooding in. "Multiple systems failures in construction bays 1 through 7, a subordinate reported. "Security protocols are not responding. We've lost contact with primary control." Vextal's bioluminescent patches pulsed with alarm. "Deploy security forces immediately." This cannot be a coincidence, not after the execution. But as security teams rushed to respond, they encountered more than simple sabotage. The maintenance corridors they'd never bothered to properly map had become killing grounds. Resistance fighters, intimately familiar with every junction and access point, struck with devastating efficiency. On the other side of the planet, in the sprawling residential sectors, Zaraka watched the chaos unfold with mounting excitement. A member of the Nexeri, a species conquered by the Dominion centuries ago, she had found common cause with the human resistance. Her people's natural empathic abilities had been crucial in coordinating the underground network. "The humans have begun," she communicated to her clanmates through their subtle chemical signatures. "We must honor our agreement." Throughout the residential towers, Nexeri workers began their own carefully planned actions. Security systems that they had maintained for generations suddenly failed. Force fields protecting Dominion administrative centers collapsed, and in the confusion, thousands of prisoners in the rehabilitation centers found their cells mysteriously unlocked. Back in the shipyards, Maya's team had secured their primary objective, the advanced prototype vessel designated Project Eclipse. The ship designed to be the Dominion's next-generation command carrier had been their true target all along. "Begin power-up sequence," Maya ordered, settling into the command chair. The ship's systems responded instantly to codes that had been secretly embedded during its construction. "Navigation. Plot a course for the rendezvous point. We need to clear the system before they can organize a proper response." As the Project Eclipse rose from its construction cradle, other ships throughout the shipyard began to move. Vessels in various stages of completion, their systems compromised by years of careful infiltration, came under resistance control. What had seemed like scattered acts of sabotage revealed itself as a coordinated strike to capture the Dominion's newest and most powerful ships. In the council chambers, now in lockdown, Cthulhu received the reports with growing horror. How is this possible? He demanded, his luminescence flaring with rage. They were broken. We monitored everything, controlled everything. That was your mistake. A junior council member, representing one of the newer Dominion species, spoke up. You monitored their communications, their movements, their resources. But you never truly understood them. You never realized that humans don't need to win to keep fighting. They just need to believe they can. As if to punctuate those words, the first explosions began to rock the council spire. Throughout Nova Centauri, carefully hidden explosive charges detonated in precise sequence, targeting power distribution nodes and defensive installations. The city's supposedly impregnable defenses began to crumble, not from an external assault, but from within. Maya stood on the bridge of the Project Eclipse, watching through the viewscreen as chaos engulfed the capital. Admiral Chen gave her life to make this possible. She addressed her crew, a mix of humans and allied species. But this is just the beginning. Nova Centauri is only one world. The signal has gone out to every sector, every colony, every ship where our people serve. Today, we show the Dominion that breaking our chains means breaking their empire. The massive ship accelerated away from the shipyards, leading a flotilla of liberated vessels. Behind them, Nova Centauri burned, not with destruction, but with the fires of revolution. And in the quantum networks that connected the Empire, Admiral Chen's final message continued to spread, carrying with it the code that would wake thousands of sleeper cells across Dominion space. The revolution had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. Breaking chains. The mining world of Chorus Prime shook with the thunder of explosions. Deep beneath the planet's crust, in the crystalline caverns where the Dominion extracted precious metamaterials, Chief Engineer David Reeves watched as decades of careful planning unfolded. The massive processing facilities, vital to the Dominion's military-industrial complex, were shutting down one by one. Containment fields are failing in sectors 7 through 12. His second-in-command reported, a smile visible beneath her dust-covered face. The overseers are completely cut off from their command centers. David nodded, his weathered features illuminated by the emergency lighting. Begin evacuation of all non-essential personnel. Signal the other mining complexes. It's time to show them what we've been building down here. Throughout the sprawling underground complex, hidden doors opened in seemingly solid rock walls. What the Dominion had dismissed as simple mine shafts revealed themselves as carefully constructed hangars and armories. The primitive mining equipment, supposedly too crude to warrant close inspection, transformed into military hardware. In orbit, aboard the Dominion monitoring station, Overseer Xalthos received increasingly frantic reports. Multiple unauthorized launches detected from mining sectors. A subordinate announced. Energy signatures. Impossible. They're warships. Rising from the depths of Chorus Prime, a fleet of vessels emerged, smaller than standard Dominion warships, but bristling with weapons and sporting advanced stealth systems. Each had been built piece by piece, hidden in plain sight within the mining operations, their components disguised as industrial equipment. The humans didn't just plan a rebellion. Xalthos realized, his crystalline form vibrating with dismay. They built an entire war machine under our watch. Across Dominion space, similar revelations occurred. On agricultural worlds, massive harvesting machines transformed into mobile battle platforms, orbital construction platforms, supposedly working on civilian infrastructure, revealed concealed weapon systems. Every human slave, every forced laborer, had been part of a vast deception. In the Outer Rim territories, aboard the captured prototype ship Project Eclipse, Maya Torres received the reports with grim satisfaction. Chorus Prime has risen, she announced to her crew. All primary targets are proceeding according to plan. Her tactical officer, a young Nexari named Kira, added, the Dominion's response is scattered. They never imagined we could coordinate on this scale. Their fleets are divided, trying to respond to multiple uprisings simultaneously. Maya studied the strategic display, watching as new signals appeared, each representing another world or station joining the rebellion. Admiral Chen's execution was the key. The Dominion thought making an example of her would break our spirit. Instead, they gave us exactly what we needed, a moment when every human in the Empire would be watching, waiting for the signal. On the agricultural world of New Eden, the revolution took a different form. Dr. Sarah Williams, officially a botanical researcher studying crop yields, activated the true purpose of her work. Throughout the vast growing fields, enhanced plants began producing chemical compounds that rendered Dominion atmospheric processors inoperable. Their carefully maintained environmental systems, crucial for their continued occupation, began to fail. They thought we were simple farmers, Sarah transmitted to the resistance network. They never questioned why we were so interested in their biological systems, their environmental requirements. Every crop we planted, every strain we developed, was designed for this moment. The Dominion's response grew increasingly desperate. Their initial attempts to crush the rebellions through brute force failed as they discovered their own technology turned against them. Backdoors and vulnerabilities, planted by generations of human technicians, crippled their most powerful weapons. In the council chambers on Nova Centauri, now a battleground, Cthulhu faced the harsh reality of their situation. How did we not see this coming? He demanded of his fellow council members. How did they hide such extensive preparations? Because you saw what you wanted to see, the junior council member who had spoken earlier replied. You saw compliant slaves, broken spirits. You never wondered why humans adapted so quickly to your technology, why they seemed to understand your systems so intuitively. They weren't just learning to serve, they were learning to strike. The revolution's true genius revealed itself not in military might, but in its comprehension of the Dominion's weaknesses. Humans had spent 15 years not just planning rebellion, but understanding their oppressors. Every forced labor assignment had become an opportunity to study Dominion technology. Every humiliation had been transformed into intelligence gathering. David Reeves, watching his mining fleet engage Dominion forces above Chorus Prime, reflected on this truth. They gave us the tools of our own liberation, he transmitted to his forces. Every ship they forced us to build, every weapon they made us maintain, every system they trusted us to operate. We learned, we adapted, and we prepared. The Dominion's mighty empire, built on the exploitation of lesser species, found itself fighting an enemy that had turned that very exploitation into strength. The humans hadn't just prepared for war. They had transformed their oppression into opportunity, their servitude into strategy. Maya Torres, coordinating with resistance cells across the galaxy, understood that the next few hours would be crucial. We've surprised them, she told her crew, but the Dominion still commands vast resources. They'll regroup, adapt, strike back. We need to push harder, faster, before they can organize an effective response. She opened a channel to all resistance forces. Remember Admiral Chen's words. Remember why we fight. The Dominion thought breaking our governments meant breaking our spirit. Today, we show them just how wrong they were. Throughout Dominion space, the revolution continued to spread. Every human slave, every forced laborer, became a potential rebel. The empire that had sought to subjugate humanity had inadvertently given them the perfect weapon. Complete access to the systems that kept their dominion intact. The Great Deception. High above the Dominion core world of Helios, first speaker, Cthulhu watched his empire crumble through the viewport of his command carrier. The massive vessel, part of the emergency evacuation fleet, carried what remained of the Dominion Council after the fall of Nova Centauri. Status report, he demanded, his bioluminescence pulsing with barely contained rage. 27 major systems have fallen to the rebels, his chief strategist reported. Our remaining forces are consolidating around the core worlds, but communications are compromised. We can't trust our own networks. Cthulhu's inner light dimmed momentarily. And the human resistance. Have we located their command center? That's the problem. First speaker. They don't seem to have one. Each uprising appears locally organized, yet somehow perfectly coordinated. It's as if. As if what? As if they knew exactly how we would respond. Every countermeasure we attempt seems anticipated. They're not just fighting us. They're playing us. In the Outer Rim, aboard Project Eclipse, Maya Torres received the latest intelligence with grim satisfaction. The Dominion's predictable retreat to their core worlds was proceeding exactly as Admiral Chen had foreseen. They're following the contingency protocols, Maya observed, studying the tactical display, just like the Admiral said they would. Dominion military doctrine, written in stone for centuries, so convinced of their superiority that they never considered changing it. Her executive officer, a former Dominion slave soldier named Rax, nodded in agreement. His species had been among the first conquered by the Dominion. Their natural warrior instincts turned to serving their oppressors. They think they're being strategic, consolidating their forces. They don't realize they're walking into a trap centuries in the making. On the agricultural world of New Eden, Dr. Sarah Williams transmitted the final confirmation. Phase 3 is complete. The bioengineered crops have reached maturity in all major Dominion food production centers. Their entire supply chain is compromised. The true genius of humanity's plan was revealing itself. While the Dominion focused on military threats, human scientists had spent years subtly altering their food supplies. The modified crops looked and tasted identical to the originals, but their chemical composition had been gradually changed to reduce their nutritional value for Dominion species. In the depths of Chorus Prime, David Reeves oversaw the final stage of his operation. The mining facilities, now transformed into massive production centers, worked at full capacity. "Begin final dispersal," he ordered. "Let's show them what we've really been mining all these years." Throughout Dominion space, hidden transmitters activated. The quantum communication network, believed secure by its creators, carried a signal that made their worst fears reality. Every piece of technology touched by human hands over 15 years of servitude had been altered, prepared for this moment. Kithal received the report with disbelief. "What do you mean? Our systems are rejecting authentication. We built these networks. We designed them." "No," first speaker, his chief technician corrected, fear evident in his crystalline resonance. "We designed the original systems, but for 15 years we let humans maintain them, modify them, upgrade them. They didn't just learn our technology. They evolved it." The truth dawned slowly, horrifyingly. The humans hadn't just planned a military rebellion. They had engineered a complete systematic collapse of the Dominion's infrastructure. Every aspect of their society that relied on the labor of their slaves had been compromised. Maya received confirmation after confirmation. Dominion warships, their systems quietly modified by human technicians over years of maintenance, found their weapons failing at crucial moments. Orbital platforms, their codes altered by generations of human programmers, turned against their masters. Admiral Chen understood them perfectly, Maya told her crew. The Dominion's greatest weakness was their absolute certainty in their superiority. They never questioned why humans adapted so quickly to their technology, why we seemed so eager to learn their systems. On the bridge of his command carrier, Kithal watched helplessly as his fleet's capabilities degraded. Ships that should have been at full combat readiness found their systems locked out or operating at minimal capacity. Even their life support systems seemed to be working against them. It wasn't just sabotage, he realized aloud. Every repair we ordered, every upgrade we demanded, they were all part of their plan. We thought we were forcing them to maintain our empire, but they were quietly transforming it. The Dominion's response had played directly into humanity's strategy. By consolidating their forces around their core worlds, they had concentrated their compromised ships and systems. What they thought was a defensive regrouping had become a massive trap. Maya opened a channel to all resistance forces. The Dominion is exactly where Admiral Chen predicted they would be. All forces, prepare for Phase 4. The Admiral's final gift to her people is about to be delivered. Throughout the gathered Dominion fleet, systems began to fail in cascading sequences. Ships lost power, weapons went offline, and life support systems required increasingly frequent adjustments. The mighty empire found itself trapped by its own technological superiority, undone by the very slaves they had trusted to maintain it. You know what the truly ironic part is? Maya transmitted to the Dominion command frequency. You could have prevented all of this if you had treated us as equals, if you had shown even a fraction of respect for the species you conquered. None of this would have been necessary. Instead, you taught us the perfect lesson: how to be patient, how to serve, and how to strike when you least expect it. The stage was set for humanity's final move. The Dominion had unconsciously gathered its remaining strength, exactly where Admiral Chen had planned for them to be, surrounded by systems and technology that no longer truly belonged to them. The greatest deception in galactic history was about to reach its culmination. Dawn of freedom. The Helios system blazed with the light of battle. Around the Dominion's last stronghold, their consolidated fleet hung in space like a vast metallic cloud. But within those ships, chaos reigned as systems continued to degrade and fail. First Speaker Thul paced the bridge of his command carrier, watching as yet another squadron reported critical malfunctions. "How long until we can restore basic combat capabilities?" he demanded. His chief engineer's response crackled with static. "Unknown, First Speaker. Every fix we implement seems to trigger new failures. It's as if the systems are evolving against us." Deep in the heart of Chorus Prime's transformed mining facilities, David Reeves activated the final phase of Operation Aurora. "Quantum Beacon Network is online," he reported to Maya. "All nodes are synchronized and ready for activation." Aboard Project Eclipse, Maya Torres stood before her crew. Admiral Chen's final message wasn't just a signal for rebellion, she announced. It was the activation key for everything we've built over the past 15 years. Today, we show the Dominion the true meaning of technological superiority. Throughout Dominion space, hidden quantum beacons powered up. These devices, disguised as standard communication relays, had been painstakingly constructed in the depths of mining worlds, hidden in agricultural processing centers, and embedded in orbital platforms. Each one had been built using technology the humans had secretly developed while maintaining Dominion systems. Dr. Sarah Williams, monitoring from New Eden, confirmed her part of the plan. Bioengineered atmospheric processors are at critical saturation. The Dominion core world's environmental systems are now completely dependent on our modified algorithms. In the Helios system, the gathered Dominion fleet suddenly detected massive energy signatures materializing around them. The quantum beacons created a vast network, linking every compromised system, every modified ship, every altered piece of technology into a single coordinated web. "By the first light," Kithel whispered as he watched the energy patterns form. "What have they done?" Maya's voice broadcast across all frequencies, reaching every ship and station in the system. "For 15 years, you forced us to learn your technology, to maintain your empire, to serve your needs. You never ask yourselves why we seem to understand your systems so quickly, so completely. The truth is, we weren't just learning. We were evolving beyond them." The quantum network pulsed with energy. Across the Dominion fleet, ships began powering down, their systems completely overridden by the technology humans had secretly embedded within them. Life support remained functional, but weapons, engines, and defensive systems fell silent. "You see," Maya continued, "while you were teaching us to serve, we were teaching your technology to recognize us as its true masters. Every repair, every upgrade, every modification carried coded sequences that only needed the right signal to activate. Admiral Chen's execution provided that signal, and her death launched a process 15 years in the making. From the outer edges of the system, new ships appeared, the combined fleets of the Resistance, led by the vessels David Reeves had built in secret. But they weren't alone. Accompanying them were ships of designs the Dominion had never seen, created by combining human innovation with the advanced technology they'd been forced to study. Impossible, Kithel breathed, watching as his mighty fleet was rendered helpless. How could slaves achieve this level of technological advancement in secret? Because you never saw us as equals, Maya answered. You were so convinced of your superiority that you never considered we might not just match your technological level, but surpass it. Every moment of our servitude was an opportunity to learn, to plan, to prepare. The Resistance fleet moved into position around the Dominion's core worlds, but instead of opening fire, they began broadcasting on all frequencies, through every communication device, every entertainment system, every official channel. Admiral Chen's final message played again, not as a signal this time, but as an offer. To all species of the Dominion, Chen's recorded voice echoed, "We offer you a choice. The empire that enslaved us, that enslaved many of you, is finished. Their technology is no longer their own. Their weapons will not fire. Their ships will not fly. But we do not seek revenge. We seek justice and a new beginning." Throughout the Dominion worlds, subjugated species watched and listened. They saw their oppressors' mighty fleet rendered powerless, saw the technological revolution that had happened right under their noses, and understood that a new era was beginning. Maya took over the broadcast. To the Dominion leadership, we present terms for surrender. To everyone else, we offer partnership. The knowledge we've gained, the advancements we've made, can be shared. We can build something new from the ashes of empire, not a dominion of masters and slaves, but a federation of equals. On New Eden, Dr. Williams watched as formerly hostile species began responding to the offer. The Nexari were the first, their empathic abilities confirming the sincerity of the humans' proposal. Others followed. Species that had suffered under Dominion rule for centuries saw an opportunity for genuine freedom. In the mining depths of Chorus Prime, David Reeves received confirmation after confirmation as world after world declared support for the new order. The quantum network that had been used to disable the Dominion's fleet was already being repurposed, forming the backbone of a new, truly unified communication system. Kithal, watching his empire crumble not through violence but through technological revolution, finally understood. "We taught them too well," he said to his silent bridge crew. "We gave them access to everything, believed them too primitive to truly understand it. Instead, they transcended it." Maya stood on the bridge of Project Eclipse, watching as the dawn of a new era literally rose over the Dominion's capital world. "Admiral Chen knew this day would come," she said softly. She knew that true victory wouldn't come from destroying the Dominion, but from transforming it. Her sacrifice showed us the way, and her plan gave us the means. The revolution ended not with a battle, but with a transformation. Humanity had turned 15 years of oppression into the greatest technological leap in galactic history. They had taken the Dominion's greatest strength, its advanced technology, and evolved beyond it, all while appearing to be simple servants. As the sun rose over Helios, the quantum network pulsed with a new kind of energy, not of warfare, but of connection. The age of the Dominion was over. The age of cooperation, of shared advancement, of true galactic civilization, was about to begin. Admiral Sarah Chen's legacy lived on not as a martyr of rebellion, but as the architect of revolution. A revolution that proved humanity's greatest weapon was never violence, but the capacity to learn, to adapt, and to transform oppression into opportunity.